Good morning, first grade. I hope you are having a wonderful morning so far, or maybe it's afternoon. You've tuned in a little bit later to catch up on some work. That's perfectly fine too. So today is Wednesday, and we are going to be reading our story of the week today. So that means we're going to have some vocabulary, and we're also going to be using those reading strategies that are so important. Those are the things that we used and got suited up for with our capes and our gloves and all of the things that we need to be doing to make sure that we are not just reading words and they're going one ear in one ear and out the other. We don't want that. We want to be able to hold and understand what we are reading and what we're doing. Do you guys see my special guest here today? Pablo, come here. I guess he's showing you his butt. All right, so we are going to get started with our story today. But before we start our story, we're going to introduce our vocabulary words. So let's take a quick look at those. All right. We have 10 vocabulary words this week. That's a lot, but I'm going to walk you through each and every one of them so that you understand them. And when you hear them, you can make that connection. We'll also watch the word as we read our story. Okay, so number one, if you can see it there, it says China. Now we know China is a country, but China is not capitalized here, is it? No. So, because it's not capitalized, we know that this China is not the China like the country, but China as in very nice glass or dishware. So if your mom or dad brings out, or grandma brings out the nice china, that is a very nice piece of something you might eat off of, okay? Yeah, so they're like plates or cups that are very nice. China. And that word is a noun. A noun is a person, place, or thing. Good. Number two, contracts. Contracts. And that is also a person, place, or thing. Contracts are things that you sign to say that you're going to do something else. So a contract is kind of like a promise that's written. A written promise is a contract. Okay? Number three, ill. Number three is ill. And it's an adjective. And what do adjectives do? Adjectives describe. So, ill is a synonym for sick. If someone is feeling ill, they are feeling sick, not well, right? Number four is the opposite of ill. If ill means sick, well means good, okay? Now, well can also be a hole in the ground that water's in, but we know that's not that well because this says it's an adjective, and adjectives describe. This well means good. I'm doing well. How are you? I'm doing good. Number five is remain. Remain. Remain is a verb. The part of speech there, verb. What's a verb? A verb is an action word. So, remain means to stay the same. I'm going to remain your teacher for the rest of the year. I'm going to remain on the swings until someone asks me to get off. Good. Remain, and that's an action, to stay the same. Very good. So we have China, contracts, ill, well, remain. Very good. We're going to hear all of those in our story. 5 more. Okay. The number 1 on this card is seaside. I bet you could put that compound word together and be able to tell me seaside. It is a noun, which is a person, place, or thing. Seaside. It's the side of the sea. So, kind of just like the coast, we've actually had a couple vocabulary words like coast and beach and things like that. It's where the water meets the land. Seaside. Number 2, assistance. Assistance, people that help others. So, this is a noun. It's a person, place, or thing. So assistants are people that help others, okay? If you work in an office, you might see assistants there. They help make copies. We've had volunteers in our classroom of middle schoolers, and they were Mrs. Cheslock's assistants. So they were helping me cut stuff out and print stuff and put things together. So assistants are people that help. Good. Number 3, surrounded. And that's a verb. Surrounded. And we have ed at the end of that verb, an action word. We have ed, so that means it already happened. Surrounded. The fireworks surrounded the kids at the baseball field. Surrounded. Good. So surrounded means all around. The bees surrounded the students as they approached their nest. Oh, that's not good, is it? Good. Surrounded means completely around something else. Surrounded. The army surrounded the enemies. Good. Number 4, obliged. Obliged. Now that is a funny word to have to say, isn't it? The spelling does not really match how it sounds. It is a verb, which is an action word. Obliged means you have to do something. You feel that you have to do it no matter what. So I am obliged to get my dad a birthday present. Okay, you're going to have to do it. Obliged. And number 5, contented. Contented. It's an adjective. What do adjectives do? Describe. Adjectives describe. So, contented is a feeling of being content. Calm, happy, relaxed, contented. Okay? Very good. All right. So, we are going to start our story, and I want you to listen for all of these words. So, let's reread number 1 one more time. Seaside. Number 2, assistance. 3, surrounded. 4, obliged. 5, contented. Very good. All right. The story we're reading today is Henri's Scissors, and we're going to kind of continue our theme of art and creativity and things like that. So I want you guys to make sure that you are reading and listening and following along with each and every page turn. Today we're going to focus on visualizing, that's making the movie in your head, and clarifying. So did you see how I wiped my screen clear? Yes, so that's when you stop for a second if you don't understand. You can reread the sentence, look at the pictures, or ask for help. We should never keep reading if we don't understand what we read. We have to stop and clarify. That way, when we continue reading, we're going to understand better. And that's using those superpowers. So let's read about our genre. What kind of story is this?
Genre. Biography. Essential questions. How was Henri able to continue making art after he stopped painting? In what other ways can people make art? Henri's Scissors. Excerpted from a larger work, written and illustrated by Jeanette Winter.
I already have a couple questions here. So, first of all, the title says Henri's Scissors, but she said Henri. That tells me that this boy in the story, or man, is probably not from this country. Henri sounds like maybe it's French or a different language. So, that's probably what that tells me about this story this week. Interesting, huh? And Papa's reading with us today. Can you see him? It's right here. All right. This story's genre is a biography, and I don't know if we've read a biography yet, okay? And a biography is about someone's life. So, you can assume that whose life is this about? Henri, or what we would read as Henri. Okay, and it looks like he does what? What might his job be? what do you see on this page? I see lots of different things. I see paint. I see him cutting with scissors, which means he's doing some artwork. Our essential question asked us, how was he able to continue making art after he stopped painting? So I think we're going to read about a man named Henri that does art. And we're going to read all about him. A biography is about someone's life. Okay, let's read. We'll go back. I noticed something. Look in your title, Henri's or Henri's scissors. What is in the word Henri that you see that's different? Apostrophe S, which shows it's someone's something, right? Whose scissors are they? Henri. Good. Possessive. Let's read.
In a small weaving town in France, a young boy named Henri-Émile Benoit Matisse watched his mother paint china. He wanted to paint too.
China. White plates, bowls, and cups that are made out of baked clay. For Thanksgiving, we set the table with china. China.
Nice job. Just so what we talked about earlier. Nice plates, cups, bowls, things you use. So this little boy, he wanted to watch his mother. He was watching his mother paint the china.
He drew pictures in the sand, and he drew pictures in his school books.
I can visualize that. Drawing pictures in school books. A lot of you have done that as well. I've seen you doing that.
When Henri was a young man, he drew pictures in his law books and on contracts, deeds, and wills.
So now it's showing us that he grew up a little bit. And even though he was grown, he's still doing these drawings on things like his contracts.
Contracts. Plural form of contract. An agreement between people that is written down. There were lots of contracts to sign to buy the car. Contracts.
Nice job. A promise, right? So if your parents have a car, you can ask them, do you have a contract for the car? Right? So he's still drawing all over stuff, Henri is, or Henri.
Henri was sick in bed with appendicitis one winter. His mother gave him a box of paints, and he painted until he was well.
Wow. So let's stop for a second. What did Henri really enjoy doing? How about you know? I can tell from the text here, he really enjoyed doing art, right? What did his mom give him when he was sick in bed? Go back in your text. A box of paints. Very good. And he used them until he was well.
Well, in good health. The doctor said the baby is well. Well.
Nice job. Take a second, look at the pictures.
He kept on painting, forgot about law, and left his small town to be an artist in Paris. Henri painted pictures day after day and year after year.
So that must mean we were right. He really loves to paint. He even left his job in law, so he was studying law, and he said, I don't want to do this anymore. I would rather do what? Paint.
He was happy, and his paintings made people happy. But when Matisse was an old man, he fell ill. So ill he couldn't paint. So ill he couldn't sit up. so ill he could only lie in bed and sleep. His paintings floated by in his dreams.
Wow. So what happened on this page? What big change happened on this page? Go back in your text. I want you to pretend like I'm right there with you and you're raising your hand. Go ahead and say it out loud. What changed on this page? He fell ill, which is sick, right? He couldn't paint anymore. He couldn't even sit up. Yeah, so he couldn't enjoy the things that he loved the most.
Matisse finally opened his eyes, and they were filled with sadness. Now he must remain in bed or use a wheelchair. Would he ever have the energy to paint again?
So how do you think he's feeling? Kind of told us right here, he was filled with sadness. Because can he get up and do the things that he really wants to do anymore? No, he cannot. He had to remain in bed.
Remain, to stay in the same place even after others have left. Baby birds remain in their nest until they can fly. Remain.
Yeah, so he had to remain in bed so that he could get better. But he was probably feeling so sad because it says right here, the author told us, they were filled with sadness. And I can tell in that illustration as well. Take a look at the picture.
When Matisse was strong enough to travel, he went to the seaside. The sea air might help him get well. Before long, he sat up. A little later, he drew.
Wow, so first, what did he do? First, he went to the seaside, right? Because why? What did he think the seaside would help him do? The sea air might help him get well. And then before long, he was able to sit up and he started to draw.
Seaside, the area near the sea. The seaside is packed in the summer. Seaside.
Nice job. So it sounds like that nice salty sea air did help him. See some scissors here.
Then one day, Matisse picked up a pair of scissors and cut out shapes from painted paper. He was drawing with scissors.
What? So is he drawing with a pen or a pencil? No, he was using a different form, a different tool to help him create his art, which was what? Scissors, yes.
A pair of scissors is a wonderful instrument.
And you can see below there, I'll move it up just a little bit for you. That is in quotation marks right there. I'm going to read it one more time.
A pair of scissors is a wonderful instrument.
If that is in those quotations that you see to open and close that sentence, that means that's something that Matisse said, okay? Henri Matisse, that's his last name. That's why they're calling him that. So he started to use scissors. Interesting. Look at all the different shapes he's cutting out.
Matisse cut paper all day. My pleasure in cutting things out grows even greater. Why didn't I think of it earlier?
Interesting. So there again are those quotation marks, which shows us that Matisse is saying something. Did he enjoy cutting things out of paper? Yes or no? Yes, he absolutely did. And he said, why didn't I think of it earlier?
His assistants painted paper for him all day.
Wow. So those assistants are people that help.
Assistants. Plural form of assistant. A helper. The assistants helped the veterinarian treat the animal. Assistants.
Good. So it seems like his assistants were helping him paint the paper, right? And then he would cut it out. Very interesting. I think I would enjoy that.
It seems to me that I am in a second life. Paper cutouts covered his walls.
What do you think he meant? It seems to me that I am in a second life. What do you think that meant? At the beginning of the story, when he got sick, he didn't think he was going to be able to do art again, right? Because he couldn't paint or draw. But what could he do? Cut things out. And how did that make him feel? Great. So he feels like he got this new energy, this new inspiration to start doing art in a different way, even though it wasn't what he wanted in the first place.
One evening, Matisse lay in bed and drew the faces of his grandchildren on the ceiling with a piece of chalk tied to a long pole. As he fell asleep, they looked down on him and saw his dreams.
Wow, how creative is that? I can visualize that, laying in bed with a long stick and you hold it up and you're drawing on your ceiling. How would your parents feel about that? I don't think my mom would be very happy. But how interesting, what another different form of art, right? He can't get up and walk around, so he made it work in a different way for him.
They saw the shapes that surrounded him in sleep.
Surrounded, a form of the verb surround, to be on every side of something. The park is surrounded by trees. Surrounded.
And we have been learning all about shapes lately, so you can see all the different shapes that are put together to create this art. So all of his beautiful pictures of his grandchildren surrounded him while he slept.
As time went on, Matisse cut bigger and bigger shapes. They filled his seaside room with color. You see, as I am obliged to remain often in bed, I have made a little garden all around me where I can walk. There are leaves, fruits, a bird.
So he's creating all these beautiful things around him.
Obliged, a form of the verb oblige, to force or do something necessary. To swim at the pool, we are obliged to follow the rules. Obliged.
To have to do something. So even if he has to stay in bed, he said he made a little garden around him where he can see these things that he loved to see.
I am deeply contented, happy.
Contented, pleased and satisfied. The mother was contented to hold the baby while he napped. Contented.
Very good. Contented is happy. So how does he feel at the end of the story? Even though he couldn't do what he wanted to do at the beginning, what and how did he feel? How did he feel? He felt very happy, very contented. Nice job. So we're going to answer 2 questions, and then we're going to move on, okay? And I'm actually going to show you guys a real picture of this real man. This is a true story. It's a biography. It's about Henri Matisse's, or Henri Matisse's life, okay? So the first question.
1. How did Matisse's assistants help him?
We talked about his assistants, right? How did they help him? Who remembers? Maybe you were listening so good in the story. Maybe we need to go back in our text. Let's go back to where they were talking about his assistants. I see an assistant here, and it looks like she's hanging a painting. Oh, and right here, here's the word assistant, so that's a good keyword to look for. It says they painted paper for him all day. So how did they help? By painting paper. Then what did he do with the paper? Cut it out. Very good. Let's go to number 2.
2. Why do you think Matisse covered his walls with cutouts?
It told us something about why he did that. Why did he cover his walls with the things he cut out? Because he very much enjoyed them, right? They made him feel contented or happy. He loved the artwork he was creating. And if you like something, you want it around and you want it to make you happy, right? Exactly. So that's exactly why he did his art and why he put it around him. Good. So I want to show you, boys and girls, something very important. Great reading, good reading strategies today. Henri Matisse was a real guy. Okay, so I'm going to show you now. And this is him right here. Yeah, so he was a real artist. And you can see a lot of his paintings, and maybe you want to look up a little bit more. You can ask your parents to go online and find you some more paintings or artwork by Matisse, okay? This is one of his cutouts. Okay. Yeah, so actually he got sick with cancer, and that's why he was unable to be out of his chair afterwards. So that is one of his prints right there. And it looks like that's cut out, isn't it? A bunch of different cutouts. So you guys just learned all about a famous artist's life. And you did a wonderful job. Great job. So let's go back to our picture here of him. Henri Matisse. Good. His artwork. Our vocabulary words. And here's an illustration of him. Okay, so as your work today, you are going to be working with those vocabulary words. You are also going to be doing a little bit of cause and effect. Okay? So, today, we're going to focus on these vocabulary words on page 239 in your Orange Skills Practice book. So go ahead and get that. Pause me if you need to. Page 239. Very good. In the gray box at the top, you have all of the words we discussed in this video. You're going to be writing the word that matches each definition here. Okay? So number 1, in good health. Which one of our vocabulary words means in good health? Assistance, contented, ill, remain, surrounded, China, contracts, obliged, seaside, or well. Well. Well means in good health. Don't forget, boys and girls, that the word China we are dealing with today is not the country. And we know that because it does not have a capital letter. Okay? On the other side, you're going to read the sentence and write the word that matches, okay, that makes sense. Make sure it makes sense. Reread it. Some of you, I am reading your work and I will catch one that doesn't make sense. So, make sure it makes sense. Number 1, the kids will blank at practice until 4:30. So what will they do at practice? Find the word that matches and fill it in. The kids will assistance, contented, ill, remain. Oh, that means remain means stay, so that must be my answer. Let's see if it makes sense. The kids will remain at practice until 4:30. Sounds good to me. Remain. And then give yourself a little check that you already used that word. So there's your freebie. Nice job. You guys did an awesome job reading. I know that was a long story today. So keep up the great work. I want you to do just that page today. We'll save our cause and effect for another day. But think about your cause and effect. What was the cause of Henri Matisse trying to figure out a new way to do art? The cause was he got sick, right? The effect, he found a new way to create art by cutting things out. Good job. All right, you guys are amazing. I'm so proud of you. Pablo, do you want to say goodbye? Pablo, do you want to say bye to your friends? Say bye. Bye, guys. Have a great day. Do good work.